hello, hello, hello. Welcome to Teacher Tidbits. I'm Lady Long, and today we are talking all about sensory play ideas. Hello, hello, Janera. Welcome on Instagram. I'm live with you guys on IG as well as Facebook. And today is going to really be a fun one. So I'm going to wait a couple moments so you can go ahead and sign in. I thank you for the hearts. Thank you for the love. And so you have a chance to get your friends in on the fun, okay? So I wanted to, let me just go ahead and fix myself here. How you guys doing? How are you guys? My Facebook fam. Hey, Melissa. Thank you for joining my IG family. This is a learning community of educators, parents, and anyone who's just looking to make it through the day with their little. So please keep these hearts coming. We're talking about sensory play today, and I'm excited to share with you guys a few of the things that I have learned over the years, okay? So for those of you who are joining in who are new, who don't quite, we're not quite acquainted just yet, I am Lady Long. I am a former educator, 15 plus years of experience in education, and I was a preschool teacher for a number of years. Once I had the opportunity to start a family, I did take my education experience home, and I became a homeschooler prior to COVID-19. I was young to the homeschooling community, only been homeschooling for 2 years prior to 2020, so this will be my third year of homeschooling, and Teacher Tidbits was a way for me to share my resources for free with other parents and other educators. And so today we're going to be talking all about sensory play for your little ones. Please share this video, tag your girlfriends, your guy friends, or any moms and dads you may know who has early learners. And today I'm going to kind of break them up according to age group and give you guys some sensory play ideas. Now, before we get started into what the actual activity ideas are, let's go ahead and discuss sensory play. When I'm talking about sensory play, what am I talking about? Well, we're talking about anything that deals with the senses, anything that deals with different textures. The 5 senses are seeing, smelling, taste, hearing, and feel. And so majority of the time when we're doing sensory activities is dealing with touch. There's a lot of different things that we can also bring in. We don't want to ignore or neglect the other senses, which is sight, things that are good and pleasing to the eye. Also taste, things that taste well. A lot of times I would bring in different recipes in the classroom, and you can bring them at home. Introduce your littles to new recipes, and maybe even yourself. You can do it once a week. You can do it often, but it's things that are intriguing the children in those areas, the areas of the 5 senses. Why is sensory play important? Well, in young learners, it's very important to get them used to sensory, to have them have a different types of textures. Hi, Hicklin Photography. Thank you so much, guys, on IG and Facebook. Looking for a photographer in the Western New York area and a DJ all in one. Please hit up Hicklin, Hicklin Photography. He does a lot of my stuff. But the reason why it's important to introduce your children to different textures and to do different things with the sensory is because it opens them up to I don't want to keep repeating myself, but textures. And the reason why that's important, you don't want to have them have issues with textures because it also helps with their physical and fine motor skills. Thank you. With their fine motor skills, being able to touch, being able to, and then later on with experiments where we're talking about science and different things that they have to do with their hands. And so if you have a child And those of you might be watching who are in occupational therapy, please, if you're on here, back me up. That's not my area of expertise, but a lot of times children who are not exposed to these sensory buildups, they later on have issues with textures, and that leads them having issues with touching things or even into their writing. And it can lead to a progression of different issues later on. And so this is why sensory play is important to engage in every single day, especially when we're talking about the babies, developing babies. Any child under the age of 1, you want to introduce them to different textures, because that is how they figure out the world around them. That is how you pique their interest early on. And remember, education starts out as curiosity. And children are naturally curious. So we want to feed their curiosity. We want them to explore in as many healthy ways as they can. And that will fuel their fire for loving to learn later on in their educational and academic experiences. So this is why it's important to do, but it's also very fun to do. So let's get into it. Now, I want to say, if you have any children, let's deal with the age group from about, let's say, 0 to 6 months. These are the babies, and most people are thinking that you can't introduce a baby that young to sensory. Yes, you can. Now, when you're talking about 0 to 6 months, a lot of things sensory dealing with that small group, for me, I'm most comfortable introducing the children that young into things that they can hear and see. It's all about developing those ears and those eyes. So for babies 0 to 6 months, you want to be speaking to them as much as possible. And you can start introducing, even in the womb, they suggest to start introducing them to music, different types of music later on. But from 0 to 6 months, introduce them to some classical music or soft playing music. It doesn't have to be classical. It could be jazz or anything you're comfortable with. I'm sorry, guys. I keep touching my mane, but y'all know. Y'all in quarantine too, so I ain't got to explain. For the babies, introduce them to sound. So music, you can have, the baby rattles, different things like that. Nothing too loud, nothing too harsh on their ears. Remember, whatever you damage in the ears, you can't get back. So that's why we don't want to have children around booming bass right in front of speakers, things like that. And then start introducing them to sight. Start showing them as much different objects as possible. Now, I do strongly suggest that children that young should not be in front of a screen, i.e. a TV, tablet, or telephone for long periods at a time, if at any point in time that young, because their eyes are still developing. Yes, babies are coming out with their eyes open, and that's very recent, but their eyes are still developing. So I don't suggest having them in front of screens that young. I'm not completely opposed to television or anything like that. My children watch television, but I'm talking about babies 0 to 6 months. So when I say introduce them to different sites, show them pictures, flashcards, books. You can read to them. Reading is a great exercise for that age group because it does both. You have sight, you're introducing them to language, you're talking to them, and also showing them pictures. Don't for 1 second believe that it's pointless to read to an infant. It is not. They are taking it all in. Now, let's move on to the next group. Infants 6 months to 1. That age group, now they're typically starting to sit up. Many of them are at the beginning stages of crawling. So they can be introduced now to more textures. They're learning a lot with their hands and feet. And now they're exploring taste. Many of them at that age group are starting to eat food. And so we all know at that age group, what are they doing? They're putting everything in their mouth. So you want to take advantage of that and use it as an opportunity to introduce them to different texture things, not just eating wise, but with sensory play that can be fun and safe. And so one of the things that I have, I tons of ideas that I have for that age group, 6 months to 1. I have here, I'm going to show you guys. These are gallon Ziploc bags. Literally use them for everything. I keep them on hand because I keep thinking of stuff to do with them. Please, if you haven't, please follow me on Facebook and Instagram. Follow the hashtag Teacher Tidbits, and you'll see tons of different little activities. You can also follow me on YouTube. But with that age group, what you do is typically just fill it up with stuff, things that are soft. So if you're not quite comfortable, you want them to have the different textures of different things, but you don't want to have a choke hazard. So if you want to start introducing them to things around them, things that are soft, things that are hard, things like that, put them in the baggies, fill it up halfway, and all you do is you completely zip it up, get you some heavy duty tape, duct tape or packing tape, and then you fold it over, duct tape the closure, and then you're going to duct tape it again to the floor or to their high chair. And that way, in a safe way, they can play and they can explore the different textures, but they can't pull it up. You don't have the fear of them, smothering themselves or anything like that. Now, when I say to tape this on the floor, I'm talking about a child 6 months to 1 who is able to sit up. I'm not talking about a child who's still on their bellies but doesn't have the strength to sit themselves up. That can be a suffocation hazard. I'm talking about a child that can sit up, but that's still on the floor, that's not quite walking. And they can just play with it. You can even fill it up with water halfway. Put some soft toys or soft objects in it, things that won't puncture the bag. You see I have here these foam balls. This is great for that age group. Put it in the water. It has a completely different texture with the bags. That's a sensory activity. Now moving on to the 1-year-olds. Now this is when you keep the same soft, safe objects, but you take it out of the bag as you let them touch. The 1-year-olds now are doing things. They are learning to walk. They're running. They're climbing. And they're still putting everything in their mouth. But they're learning. They're starting to learn, okay, this is something I like in my mouth. This is something that I don't. And so I do encourage you, going back to the 0 to 6, the 6 months to the 1-year-olds, introduce them to as many different flavors as possible. If you're going to have them play with different textures, let it be something that's edible. Let them play with their food or feed themselves with their hands, things like that. Things that are taste safe. So just in case they happen to say, I wonder what this tastes like, this Play-Doh tastes like, or this paint, it is completely non-toxic and safe. There are tons of different recipes for taste safe paint, Play-Doh, things like that. I'm going to be putting up quite a few of them on my YouTube. I'm going to do a compilation of just sensory activities, and it will be broken down towards age group. Now, going on with my 1-year-olds, I love this. Again, it's still the pom-poms. You can put these in a bin by themselves. You don't need anything fancy. If you don't have like a big bin, you can just use like a plastic, I'm trying to see, these plastic containers. Get them from the Dollar Tree. You can also get the wider ones from Dollar Tree or like Family Dollar, any of your dollar stores. The ones that people might do like pedicures with. Fill that up. And it doesn't have to be anything fancy. Listen, if you don't have a bin, you can get an old pan. Clean it out and voila, there you go. Typically for 1-year-olds, I start introducing them to things like this, the pom-poms. It's great for sorting. It's also still soft. I will put out the larger ones because the smaller ones can be a choke hazard until they become responsible and trustworthy enough once they get past the point of putting everything in their mouth. Okay, and introduce them to other textures. Here I have, what is this? I don't even know, decorative shred. You get this from the dollar store, guys. We call it fake grass or whatever. Use it to kind of fill up your goodie bags and things like that. This is great. Introducing them to different textures. Just let them go wild. Okay? Now we're going on to our 2-year-olds. 18-month to 2-year-olds. Start doing the same things, introducing them, letting them play more with water. I love, love, love water play, and my girls love it too. So that is a very typical sensory bin idea, is water. I add different things to it to add the texture. Sometimes I add soap to make bubbles. Sometimes I add some food coloring. I have this here on the table to change the color of the water. And sometimes I'll even add things to it. So if you add the pom-poms to the water, it gives it a completely different texture. And what they love about this is if you add these pom-poms, they're like little cotton balls, a little bit different, different texture, but they hold water well. They soak up, and then the kids squeeze all that water out. Oh God, texture heaven. And all that water falls out, and then they see it, absorb it right again. So this is great for adding to water. Don't be afraid. Now with this is paper. So I want to add this to water, but this is great for them to have, as well as the 2-year-olds. Now, at 2 years old, I start introducing those little babies to child-safe scissors, okay? I start introducing them to child-safe scissors because I'm comfortable with doing that. Before I introduce them, when I introduce them to scissors, I have them sit at a table. I explain to them what scissors are. I model it, and I do it with them for a while. Once they get past that point, I can trust them. I'll have a sensory bin with just this, or old magazines, just kind of brief, like roughly cut it up, and let them have a sensory bin of cutting. They just practice their cutting. It's a great exercise for them to build up that fine motor skills that I always talk about. Fine motor is the muscles that they need to build for the 3-point grip. Why is this grip important? This is the grip you need to have proper penmanship. This is what's going to lead them to writing. It's all purposeful, it's all meaningful, and it is what I call intentional play. So we're playing, we're having fun, but they're also learning, and they're also getting the mandatory skills that they need to get them on track and mastery for kindergarten and onto school. So we have that. Now moving on to another great sensory play idea. I have this, noodles. Maybe you heard of it, maybe you've seen it. I have a quick little video on my IG and Facebook. Take some spaghetti noodles, boil them al dente, so not too soft, and add some food coloring. Make them go wild. Mix them, make them any color you want. You can literally use this for any type of theme. If you have an ocean theme, blue ocean. If you have a spring theme, green grass. Okay? Put it in, and it's noodles, and they play with it. I would have them wash their hands prior to playing with it, and always wash their hands after. And so typically if I make the colored noodles, and it doesn't have to be spaghetti, it can be any noodle, bow tie, penne. You can even color some lentil beans. I've done that in the past. Now with the spaghetti or the noodles, when you dye them, if you wash your hands before and after, I say it typically lasts for like 2 days, okay? Oh, you're welcome, Mary Ann. You welcome. Please, if you welcome, I'm glad to share it. If you try any of these, don't be afraid to tag at Teacher Tidbits and IG at Teacher Tidbits Officials. I want to see what you guys come up with. I want to see what you guys do, and I would love to feature you on my page. I love the inspirations that you guys have, so you are more than welcome. But I want to say, the spaghetti lasts typically for 2 days. I don't, before it gets real nasty, 2 days. So what I do, the first day, I put it in the refrigerator, and when I make it, put it in the refrigerator, refrigerate it overnight. So when the kids take it out and they're playing with it, it's cold. That adds another texture with it. and they love it. And so once they're done, anything that falls on the floor, I throw it away. I don't put it back in the bin. And then I put it back in the fridge. And so that next day, that will be the last day that they play with that. And then I will just make a fresh batch. Love this because it's so inexpensive. You can get any type of noodle, $1 per pack. And you only need to use half a pack, per use. And then all you're adding is food coloring. Again, dollar store, any dollar store. And these guys last like forever. So for the 2 and 3-year-olds, we're moving on. So this I do with 2-year-olds. It's taste safe. But typically 2-year-olds are not still putting everything in their mouth so they can play with it. And they're just squishing it and exploring that. You don't have to worry about it. Now with the water play, let's go on to make water play more interesting. My 3-year-old and 2-year-olds love water. And I want to say these are things that you can also do if you're comfortable. Add them to your bath. If you don't have a water bin, you can make bath time and time to explore sensory. You guys already know children love their bath anyway. We add the bubbles, but now you can just add a couple things. This is what I do to add water, to make water play more interesting. I add things. So have the scoopers here. Maybe you want to add some funnels. I wanted to show you guys my little funnels. I left them, so please forgive me. I don't want to run out and get them. But you guys know what I'm talking about. They're the little funnel. They stay on top of the thing, and then you can pour something in it. It makes things easier to get in there. Okay. You guys know. So just add tools for them to play with the water and make not just a water bin, but a pouring station. One of the things that's very important for kids at 3 years old to master is simply pouring. They have to be able to pour on their own. So start off with the small measuring cups. It's a half cup. You add the cup. Have them scoop and pour. You add empty cups, plastic cups or jars, and have them pour it in. Just practice that. Then once they get that, you can add pitchers. You can add extra cups. And what I love to do with the pouring stations, you guys see it. Here it is. This is, again, watercolor and water. That's it. And so now you have a pouring station. Now today, me and my girls have been exploring colors. That is a theme for this entire week. And so I've been teaching them. Today is Monday. So we went over the primary colors and we kind of had our own pouring station. And they learned about mixing colors. And this is great. You have your water bin, and what you do is you have the primary colors kind of pre-made already, and then just have them pour it into the other colors and see what colors are made when you mix red and blue, or red and yellow, or yellow and blue. See, and let them go wild. Now in the end, all the colors will be black. All the colors will be black and brown, but it's a great fun activity, and it's just food coloring, so it will wash off. The other thing that you can do, and I did this today, and it doubled as sensory activity, but I saved this, and it also doubles as watercolor, literally. It looks really dark, but once it dries on the paper, it dries really light, like pastels. I love it. I'm going to be showing you guys some stills during the week. And so for the 3-year-olds, continue to do sensory. They want to do things. Again, sensory is all about the 5 senses, but if you're talking about feel, the 3-year-olds want to do things with different textures. You have to get the children over different textures, the idea of different textures. This is also going to help them once they begin to eat different things. They'll be more willing to taste different things. Especially picky eaters. A lot of the times, if children are this young and they're picky eaters, it's not necessarily because they are a master chef and they just have such a great palate. It's usually because of textures. It's not even just about taste. It's more about textures. And so doing the sensory play with them really helps. A great activity to do with 3-year-olds, speaking of the texture, have things that they can pull, squeeze, stretch without getting in trouble. And you guys know I've already said I love to keep balloons on hand. One of the cool things that I saw was filling the balloons with different materials. Not water, but different things. Maybe some pom-poms, maybe some beans, maybe some oatmeal, and just having something that it won't deflate. Boil it up. I should have, you can fill it with rice. Kind of like a stress ball fill. And have them, just play around with that and squeeze it. And I'm going to be showing you guys again this in detail. I'm going to be putting up a YouTube video, so follow me on YouTube. I'm going to put up a whole compilation. Now, one of the things I want to say with the 3 and 4 year olds, it's the same type of things, but you're just adding more materials. Want to have these guys handy for your 3 and 4 and 5 year olds. These are tongs. Many of us call them pinchers, but this is helping them to master, again, that 3-point grip. So they can start off here. This is completely fine. Picking up things, placing it down, but we want to get them here. Okay? And even as an adult, this is kind of tough to use. So you use this, add this to your sensory play or to your everyday play. So that way this will get them ready for writing. What I do for my children is I have a potato chip clip. Okay? And I've had this little guy has been in like all my videos. But when my kids were very young, 1 and 2, and I wanted them to get used to using a pincher, I had this because it's easier and they can use their entire hand. And once they master this, pick up things and drop it with this, then they can move on to this guy. It makes things difficult. The last thing I want to share with you guys is my ultimate favorite sensory activities. I literally talk about it all the time, so forgive me. But it is slime. I love it. My children love it. And I have found that when you allow kids to just sit at the table and play with it, even Play-Doh, you can free up literally like 20 to 30 minutes of your time. They're not on the screen. Now, my children have been playing with slime for some time. So if your child has not been playing with slime, maybe you're a little leery of it because it can get on your things. It can get everywhere. I typically buy water-based slimes. So not like putty because they come off easily. If they get on the clothes, you wash it and they typically wash off. But to avoid all that, I use certain brands and I also make my own. But when I see slime, I buy it and I just keep it on hand because it really keeps my children occupied, really, for me, in a safe way. And so I would say introduce your children to slime once they've gotten beyond the point of putting things in their mouth. And when you first introduce it, you sit down with them, have them play at a clean space like this table or even a clean spot on your floor if you have laminate floors. Something where it won't get, sticky, nothing with cloth or anything like that. If they're wearing long sleeves, roll them up. And then you sit with them. You make sure you tell them you don't put the slime in your mouth, your eyes, your hair, your nose. You play with it. You show them different things and different ways to handle the slime. And let them do that. You do that with them the first few times until you feel like you can trust them. And so I'm at a point where I play with slime so much, even myself, because it's a great stress reliever for me. And I don't know, I have something with that texture thing going on because I just love it. And I can let them play with it on their own. And so I love slime. It's so easy to make, but I wanted to share with you guys some of the finds that I had by Elmer's. Now, I do want to make this disclaimer. I am not sponsored by Elmer's. I'm not a partner. I just literally like this stuff. Hey, Elmer's, if you're watching, we could be friends. But I'm just, excited to show you guys what I found because Elmer's is making slime easier to make. Okay, so now you can buy the stuff you need and just make it yourself instead of buying those $5, $3 slime things. So the first thing I want to show you guys is this. Oh. This is by Elmer's and it's literally called Goo. Okay, and it's, let me show you guys. It's called Goo. You can see I couldn't help myself. It's called Goo. Look at this. Oh my gosh. Look at it. So it's not like super slimy. It's more stretchy. Oh, like kids will have a blast with this. And so what I plan on doing is taking this and doing a couple things to it. I'm going to save that as a surprise. I want you guys to watch the video. But I'm going to be making some stuff with this, some different variations of slime. And I also want to show you guys this. Elmer's is making glue. This is color changing glue, but they make it specifically for you slime enthusiasts, okay? So this is great. Typically with slime, my go-to slime recipe is glue, a little bit of water, a little bit of baking soda, and a little bit of contact solution. But Elmer's is like, you know what? You guys are already using our product. Let's make it easier for you. So with this, all you have to do is add the glue, the rest of the ingredients. But I also came across this. They have something called magical liquid. And so this takes out the baking soda and the contact solution. So all you have to do is add this Elmer's magical liquid to glue, and it literally turns into slime. You just mix it, and depending on how stretchy or how, how stretchy or how kind of liquid fill you want, you just add a little bit of water. But this is it, you guys. Magical liquid and Elmer's glue. You mix it together, and it's supposed to make slime. So we're going to find out together, because I'm going to, add this in my video and show you guys what actually happened. And I have a ton of different things that I cannot wait to make. And so everything that I've discussed with you guys today, check out my YouTube video. I plan on having it up by Wednesday or Thursday of this week. You will get the notifications, but everything that I talked about, I'm going to actually make and show you guys in the video. So that is it for tonight. I wanted to come on here and share something lighthearted, something fun with you guys. I did want to say, for those of you who are having rough times right now, we are in difficult times as a nation. We're in a time of turmoil, but I wanted to come on here and encourage you all and let you know that we are still all in this together. Don't be mindful of the information that you take in. Don't believe everything that you read. Don't believe everything that you hear. Be true to yourself, but remember that we are still all in this together. We are all parents. We are all have family and different things like that. And so I know many of you watching, a lot of my audience may be affected by just the turmoil that our country is currently in, dealing with the pandemic, as well as the protests and the riots. And I wanted to acknowledge that. I don't want to skip over it and act like nothing is going on. But my role is to come on here and to unify people through the love of education, the love of children, and to remind you that we're all parents. We are all doing the best that we can. And, people are people. People are people. People are going to be good. People are going to be bad. But people are still people. There's no one perfect person. People make mistakes. And people are forgiving. And people can be angry. And people handle different things differently. So I want to say, if you're having a rough time, talk to someone. Try to speak to someone that can help you. But also be open to speaking to someone who has a different point of view from yours. Hear them out. Hear their perspective. Show them your perspective. See if you can make some headway, some headspace with them. And just do it in a loving, kind, and respectful way. And I know that we'll get through this all together. Well, until next time, you guys, this is Lady Long. Happy learning.